Our first guest tonight is an Academy Award-winning actress, you know, from films such as A Beautiful Mind, Requiem for a Dream, and Top Gun Maverick. She stars in Dark Matter, which is streaming now on Apple TV+. Let's take a look.
What was the name of that hotel that we stayed in?
Which?
You remember last Thanksgiving, we stayed in that hotel. You were obsessed with it. What was it called?
Mahakal.
Mahakal. That's it, Mahakal. It was beautiful. We loved it.
Please welcome back to the show, Jennifer Connelly, everybody. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you. So nice to see you.
That was a really good, creepy clip.
Yeah, something's brewing.
Yeah,
Something's
it's
brewing.
tricky because this is a book I read, a science fiction book I read that I loved.
Yeah, so the same
And
title.
I'm very happy that it was adapted into a book, but it's tricky to find a clip because there's so much to the story. And I feel like that was a really good one because you're like, what's going on with these two?
Yeah, because it's the basic premise is there's a guy and he's abducted into an alternate version of his life. Meanwhile, someone else is living his life. So
I like that that's the excuse I'm going to give my wife when I can't remember a hotel we stayed at.
yeah,
I'm going to be like, here, the long story short, I have been abducted.
yes.
We had your co-star Joel Edgerton here yesterday, and he said one of the nice things about this adaptation is that Blake Crouch, who wrote the book, is also the showrunner and wrote the scripts for the show. That must be a nice thing to have somebody who originally came up with this, very unique idea also on set.
It was amazing. You know, it's different. You know, in shooting a film, the director is really the person, your go-to person on set, and in the show, we have different directors. We had, one director who did the first 3 episodes, and then you have a different director for the next 2, and in different blocks. But Blake, who is our showrunner and who wrote the novel and wrote many of our scripts, was there. He was the person. He was the sort of the through line. So it was wonderful. It was wonderful having him there, and I think for fans of the book, they know that it's really his vision. He was
I think
part
that's
of every
especially
decision.
weird. I don't want to be hard on them as a fan base, but I do think science fiction fans also sometimes, in particular, like to know that it is in the safe pair of hands of the people who came up with the idea.
Yeah, of course. If you love a book, you want to
100%.
feel that it's adapted in a way that's faithful.
And I
to the
did
book.
love the book, and I do think it's a wonderful adaptation. Did you know of the book? Like, when it first came to you, how much did you know?
No, I didn't know. I hadn't read the book, and I obviously subsequently did and really enjoyed it and referred back to it many times, because it was like a journal from my character to have,
It's also, and I think this is true of all the best sci-fi, that it's there's a lot of big ideas, but it's also about really human stuff. It's about like family and marriage and grief.
Yeah.
Did you feel like the groundedness of it is also what makes it so much?
That's a part of what I loved about it. I mean, yeah, he's traversing these incredible worlds, but he's doing that. He's also navigating the landscape of his marriage, and sort of the choices that he's made in his life, as he's wondering, like, should I have done this? Should I have made this choice? Should I have had a family? What if I had pursued my career? And that's kind of playing out, those sort of domestic questions are playing out in this really spectacular way.
I would imagine, even if you don't like watching yourself on camera, you must be fascinated to see how something in a sci-fi world looks when you watch it again.
Yeah,
Because when you're
also,
making it...
there's, like in this, there's so much that I wasn't a part of and I didn't see,
Right.
like all of that other world that he's in as he's, in... Also interesting is it was like, it's different realities, but they're different versions of his own city that he keeps going back to, which was I thought was pretty cool. And I wasn't part of that stuff in the show. So it was really fun for me to see.
That's great.
All of that, yeah.
Now, we talked to Joel yesterday about what other path, if he hadn't, because again, this is about the choices you make and where you end up. If he hadn't been an actor, what would he have done? And he pretty much admitted I think he has no other skills. I mean, that's, I paraphrase. amazing.
Well, he's really talented
He's
as an actor.
really good at
So that
acting.
works out
Yes,
really
I
well
wanna
for
stress.
him. He's really, really good
Yeah,
at
but
it.
it does seem
and
like
I'm sure
a
that's not
giant
true.
step down to career 2 for Joel.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
about you? Do you ever think about like what else you could have done?
You know, I actually thought about it in this version of my life because I started working when I was so young. I started working when I was 10 years old.
That's crazy.
And it wasn't something that I had pursued. Like I never even did a school play. Like I didn't even watch movies. Like I was like, it was my mom's idea, and I started working. And then at a certain point, when I got a little bit older, I was like, do I really want to do this? Like this isn't what I chose for my life. But well, here I am. So obviously
Yeah.
I re-chose it. But after investigation and really thinking about
That's
it.
good. Your children actually have a take on what would be a good second career for you.
Oh, yeah. My son, Stellan, he thinks that I would have been a pretty good detective.
I think that tells us a lot about what kind of mom you were.
Exactly. I'm not sure that's a compliment. Am I really like hyper vigilant mom who sees everything?
Do your kids give a lot of feedback on your work? Are they honest?
Well, they haven't gotten to see a lot of it. To
I
be
guess
honest,
that's
this is
true.
probably for the best.
you haven't done a lot of, yeah.
They watched this show actually, and they really enjoyed it, and they said very nice things about it.
Great.
Agnes, you know, they all have grown up like coming to work with us. Agnes is the most vocal and cutthroat. Yeah, because they'll come and they'll like sit at the monitor and put headphones on and listen and watch
Oh,
a
that's
take.
good.
She'll sit there and watch. And she does not mince words. So she'll be like, yeah, Mom, I'll come up after. She'll be like, yeah, Mom. So in that take, you put your hand on his shoulder. Not working. Try not, next take, try not doing that. I'll be like, okay. Sure, thanks. And she's right. She's usually right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the heartbreaking thing.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
My wife has advice all the time, and the most heartbreaking thing is how right she is.
Is she?
Yeah. You know, though, you're being hard on your work. My kids are 8, 6, and 2. You know what their favorite movie is?
What?
House of Sand and Fog. It maybe seems like you've gotten it a little bit better than your husband. When Paul was here, he said that he went on, maybe it was the Netflix account or some account where they changed the icon, his icon, this Paul Bettany, wonderful actor, to his face. And they changed the name to Worst Avenger.
Yeah, it's true. There's like his avatar, there's a picture of him as Vision. He plays Vision in, and there's a picture of him and it says Worst Avenger.
I will say,
It's true. It was very funny.
it's very funny to burn your dad in a way that you're not there when he finds out.
Yeah.
Like you gotta have a lot of confidence
Totally.
as a kid, be like, he'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
This will
I love
age
it.
fine.
Yeah, they're good at that. They're good at those kinds of pranks. I have one. We have this. Well, this is a long story. Maybe I shouldn't go to. But we have this painting that I loathe that someone gave us. That's an oil painting of my husband. That's like they took. Was it like a Playgirl thing? Was it Burt Reynolds? Like a famous
I remember,
picture.
yes.
The cover.
Where he's like leaned out.
Yeah. So they did had a commission an oil painting of that with my husband's face on it.
Yeah,
and
that's no good.
it's so disturbing to me. And Paul tried to put it like over our mantle and I took it down and I hid it. And then it became this game where then he'd find it and he'd put it someplace else. And then now it's become a game with the kids and they torture me with it. So last time I had hidden it, I thought someplace really good, but they never find it. And I went to go to sleep at night, and while I was out, they had rigged it with fishing wire. It was hanging from the ceiling. Like, I'm looking up, and it was...
That's really good. That must be a
sneaky.
moment where you're like both mad and also
And
like,
proud.
but you know what? I'm really
a
proud.
little proud,
Yeah.
because that's a good joke.
I would love anybody
Yeah.
who puts the time in. You're like, you do love me.
I know.
Thanks for being here. Congrats on
Thanks
the
for
show.
having
Such a
me.
delight.
Thank you.
Jennifer Connelly, everyone. Dark Matter is now streaming on Apple TV Plus with new episodes available on Wednesdays. We'll be right back with Indigo Girls. Our next guests are an iconic Grammy Award-winning folk rock duo who've been performing together for more than 4 decades. Their new career-spanning documentary, Indigo Girls. It's Only Life After All is available on demand now. Let's take a look.
There was something about our queerness, the forcefulness of our energy that was a turnoff to a lot of those folk clubs.
I had this feeling that where we needed to be to really do what we wanted to do was more in the world of alternative and post-punk, because we would be free to have influences that were different and to play loud and to have crowds that were raucous and to express ourselves in this bigger way. And we didn't have to be polite women that were singing and sitting down with our little guitars.
Please welcome to the show, Indigo Girls, Amy Ray and Emily Saliers. It's such an honor to have you both here.
Good to be here.
Very exciting time with both the documentary and then, of course, Closer to Fine, featured in the Barbie soundtrack. What a cool thing that must have been to be a part of.
I mean, it fell out of the sky. It was just, at first we were like, Barbie, I don't know, we better check our political consciousness. And then it's like, Greta Gerwig, okay.
Yeah. What about with the documentary? Did you have any hesitation about sort of, doing a film about the last 40 years of this incredible career?
You know, when we met Alexandria Bombach, the director, we just had a really good feeling about her and had seen her other films. And our basic, reply to her about a documentary was we want it to be sort of about the community and not really like a vanity piece, just about Indigo Girls. And she was down with that. And I think that was her vision too. And we just had faith in her. We kind of handed everything over to her, and then it's her baby. She did it.
How soon into your career, Emily, did you realize the community you had with your fan base?
Well, at first, our community was our parents, because
Right.
they were the only ones who, we started in high school. We got fake IDs. We started playing in bars with the blessing of our parents. But little by
No
little...
hesitation on the parents back in the day?
No, but I mean,
Well, there was a couple of gigs, maybe.
Well, we call them fern bars, like sort of Applebee type places.
Okay, gotcha.
They always had fern, so we played a lot of those. But the truth is that
bars.
yeah, that's what we called them.
Okay.
But the truth is that very early on, we found a community of musicians. Like Athens was rich with music, and Atlanta was rich with music, and there was a lot of support in the communities, and there was a lot, like a real motley crew and diverse group of people, musicians who hung out together. So very early on when we started to play, we found a community. And then when we started to do like small acts of activism, like finding about a local, like a women's shelter, women and children's center, we found, let's just play music and raise awareness, a little bit of money. We never could raise very much at that point, and then give a voice to this place. And then then we really started to find our community through our activism.
That's really great. You mentioned Athens, and you went on tour early on with REM, which must have been some pretty big shows. And then you guys repaid the favor back to the community. I know Brandi Carlile would go out on tour with you in the early days. Was it nice to be able to, sort of throw that ladder down to the next generation?
I mean, it's the way we were brought up, like we played during people's breaks when we were kids, and they let us have gigs with them. And then it's not just like, we're not like, let us help you up. It's more like we find people that we're just big fans of. We heard Brandi's music. We were like, she's amazing. We had this band called the Shadow Boxers, 3-5 Human. It's the list goes on. We've had Lucy Wainwright Roach was just touring with us. So it's just people, we really love their music. And then sometimes it's someone like Brandi who becomes huge.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Did you, going back and looking both at archival footage and looking back at early songs you wrote before maybe even you recorded your first album, was there anything that you found cringy to read? I think, when you think about young people writing, that's often can be like, oh, son of a gun.
Well, there are songs that we'll never play again. I mean, they're so cringy. And then I even could think of a song that we still play where I actually changed the lyric because I couldn't stand it anymore. It was so terrible.
And does the audience know? Or are they like singing along and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa?
Well, because we're very transparent, I'll say like, guys, I'm going to change the lyric right now, so you're going to notice it if you know this song, and then it's like that. Then we just sing.
And do you be honest? Do you feel like when they hear the change, are they like, oh, thank God she changed it?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's like purists. They're like, whoa, this is way better.
Yeah. Well, like, what took you so long?
It also seems like you have an incredible wealth of photos, old photos. Was this something you guys were doing maybe more than another young band was doing at the time? Were you aware of like, or did you just like the idea of capturing what you were going through?
For me, I mean, my dad was an archivist, like a hoarder of like film and photography, and just he had a dark room, and I learned a lot about photography and film from him. So I was obsessed with doing that, just for us, just for me, just for us. And then when he passed on, my mom handed me a bunch of boxes of things, and it was like, you know, a plethora of videotapes. And then fans would send us stuff, and I just kept everything, you know. And then Sony had some great archives of our stuff. So it's and Emily and Russell, our manager, and Adrian, his son, everybody worked together, and we had a lot of stuff. I took pictures a lot.
You mentioned you started playing together in high school, met in elementary school.
Yeah.
This is a real, be nice to the, you know, if any elementary school kids are watching. You never know who your career-spanning partner will be.
I mean, that is true.
Do you have any memory of the day you met, or did you just kind of remember the era you met?
Well, I had this little band called the Blue Skies. We were in 7th grade, I guess. So I was aware of Amy because she was that other girl who played guitar in elementary school.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the moment or the first time, because we really didn't become like pals until we went to high school together, which started at 8th grade, where we were.
Okay.
And we joined the chorus, and then we became like really like best friends. And then all the playing together and learning songs, and our AP English teacher, Ellis Lloyd, who supported us, that all sprung out of that.
Well,
I do remember seeing her in the cafeteria with the Blue Skies across at a table or something. I just have this memory of seeing her singing and thinking, like, so much more than I can do right now. I'm going to learn how to do that.
I mostly am just like, I can't believe I didn't go to that high school. Like, I never walked into the cafeteria and was like, is that the Blue Skies? I'm so glad you guys are going to stick around and do some music for us as well. Amy Reyne.